Everyone. My name is Casey Chama. I am the Executive Director of Unite Oregon, and we have a lot of folks who are joining with us tonight. I want to make sure, first of all, I want to introduce our co-host for tonight. We are actually election night in the West Coast live. We are All America campaign, and we really want to get the perspective of particularly those who are either on the ground and working, organizing in our community, but more importantly, also those who are also from immigrant refugee background, who are also either who are running for office and being on the ballot tonight. Those are the folks that we want to hear from their own perspective. But before I do that, let me introduce our folks who will be providing state-by-state perspective and kind of helping us to understand a little bit about what's going on in the background. We have actually Neira Sumik, from former refugee from Bosnia, who is the National Field Manager at We Are All America. And we also have Reina Lopez, Executive Director of Bakun, a farm workers organization, who is one of the most powerful players in Oregon, working with the farm workers in our state. We also have Anahita Bahani, an immigrant refugee from Iran, and also California organizer with We Are All America, housed with Chirla. We also have the candidates who are with us tonight. So I'm going to start. I know the candidates have a lot to go through it, and they have to jump from one phone call to another call and Zoom call to another Zoom call. So I'm going to start with the elected officials who are potential elected officials who are with us tonight, starting with Khan Pham, who are running for Oregon House of Representatives. I believe, Khan, can you let us know about your race, why you ran, and what have you learned from your race, and any perspective you can share with the future potential candidates who will consider running for office in Oregon?
Sure. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. It means a lot to me. As the daughter of Vietnamese refugees, my parents never imagined that their daughter would one day run for office. And I think it really speaks to, I mean, for me, I never saw people like me, faces like me who were elected officials. And it wasn't until I started organizing, and frankly, when I saw the squad with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and all these women of color, fierce women of color with really strong politics, who were kind of breaking the mold of what an elected official could look like, really helped me see the possibilities. So I am running for Oregon House District 46, which is in outer Southeast Portland. It's a really diverse district split by 82nd Avenue, and includes the J District, where I've done most of my organizing, and has one of the highest populations of Asians and Pacific Islanders in the state, but has never had an Asian or Pacific Islander representative. And so I will be the first Asian or Pacific Islander to represent this district, and the first Asian American in a generation, in about 20 years, to actually be in the state legislature. And so I ran partly to represent this district that hasn't had, at least parts of its community hasn't been represented. It's got both the wealthiest neighborhoods and also some of the poorest neighborhoods in Portland. I also ran because I am a mother and a climate justice activist. And after working locally for many years to help pass a local Portland Clean Energy Fund ballot measure, I wanted to bring this movement, this movement that includes communities of color and environmentalists and labor and businesses. I wanted to bring it to the state capitol so we could build our power and fight for an Oregon Green New Deal, because I feel really urgently, especially after this past summer of wildfires and air pollution, that we really need to take urgent action. And I believe that it's an opportunity for us to create more family wage jobs in the process as we build a more equitable and renewable economy. So I ran for all those reasons, because we're not just single issue people or single issue identities. I'm a mother, I'm the child of refugees, I'm a climate justice activist and a local community organizer. And I guess for advice, I would just say, you don't have to have it all. You can also really draw on support from your community. I'm not a perfect candidate. I don't have, sometimes I get nervous about public speaking, or there's a lot of weaknesses, but you can really lean on your community and to support you as you take this leap. So I really encourage anyone to turn to their community to find out if this is a step that is going to help build power for all of us.
Thank you, Han. Appreciate and welcome Inger from United Oregon.
Sure.
Thank you, Han, for talking to us. I know you have a lot to jump around, so if you want to jump off, feel free to do so. Let me jump quickly now and welcome Nafisa Al-Safai, who is also running for Washington County. Nafisa, welcome. So I know folks who are running for office, potential elected officials, will have to go to different phone calls and responding to different Zoom calls. I want to start with Nafisa also. Nafisa, can you tell us a little bit about your background? Why did you run for an office? And what advice do you have folks in the future who might be considering running for an office? What have you learned from the campaign? Muted.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me, Casey. Assalamu alaikum. Good to see you. And I think we're waiting for a lot of the results to come in. We haven't declared any win for my race, but pretty significantly ahead. So I'm hoping we stay that way and win tonight and have the Oregonian call it. I think, why did I run? I think I was crazy, and Casey was like, go ahead, do it. I think if anybody would have told me what I would go through, I probably wouldn't have done it, but I'm glad I did run for office, and I learned a lot. It was definitely a learning curve for me, and I didn't expect what I went through, but I really was passionate about community and having an impact for our community. I chose local government because I used to, as a community organizer, I would work with the county around community services and addressing underutilizations. And then I went and worked inside for county government. And so I really learned as an outsider and an insider that the impact community we can have when we're elected officials. So I one day decided that I was gonna throw my name out there and run for this seat because I knew I had the background and the experience needed. I worked for the American Red Cross for nearly a decade. I also worked for Multnomah County Health Department, various different roles. And was actually, I don't know what's happening with my computer, but can you guys hear me? Is it working?
We can hear you, yes.
Okay, perfect. I think my computer is in and out. It felt like it was going in and out. But I worked for the county, and I was actually on the MERS outbreak team on the second coronavirus that happened in 2013. And then I went on to work for a nonprofit organization and did advocacy work. And we were really, advocating public health policy change for the Tri-County, but the political dynamics in the three counties were different. One was the other way, and then one was on the opposite end of the political spectrum. But we were very impactful in Multnomah County. And after that, I started doing my own consulting work and decided to work for myself and have been active in Washington County. I sit on our Clean Water Services Advisory Commission, and I also been appointed by the Maternal Mortality and Morbidity Review Committee. Nerdy stuff, but things I really care about and really been passionate about. So I decided back in September, so it's been a long journey. And in the primary, I had two opponents, both conservative, one heavily funded. So it was negatively campaigned against me, and I felt like I was between a hard place and a rock. Everything about me was attacked, and I felt unsafe, and I didn't know who I could turn to for support because I felt like everybody was I felt like everybody was going to get attacked. And I remember calling Stephanie, I don't know if Stephanie's on here, and saying, oh, there, hi, Stephanie, and just breaking down. And I was like, I don't want to get Casey in trouble because they'll probably come after him, but can you make a comment on my page because there's all these people who are overwhelmingly attacking. and but a lot of people stepped up and really defended me, um, and I appreciated that. And my lesson learned was that run and try, because in Washington County, there's a lot of diversity that exists in Washington County and has been here for generations. But the narrative that exists about Washington County is that it's conservative, and nobody really mentions the diversity that exists, because we're one of the most diverse counties in Oregon. And when you look at the political decision-making composition in Washington County, there's no diversity. We've only have one elected official, Juan Carlos, who's on Metro Council, but Washington County is one of the most diverse counties in Oregon. So, it was really hard. It's always hard to be the first, but we did it because a lot of people really wanted to add representation to the commission. They also, really appreciated, because the pandemic happened, and they really appreciated the public health background that I bring, so they wanted to add that. But yeah, it's been sorry, I don't mean to talk a lot.
So Nafisa, quickly, what advice in a minute or so, what advice do you have folks who are potentially young, folks who are potentially considering might want to run for the future positions in Oregon?
I would say
what
do
did you learn from your campaign?
Yeah, I would say do it. And I also know that you're not alone. Sometimes you might feel, especially when you're attacked, you might feel alone, but there are people who really care about defending and helping people and protecting people. So reaching out to people, and there's no shame in and know that your background is going to come out, and have no shame. So my advice is to really put yourself out there. It's going to be moments of uncomfortability, but those moments will pass, and you'll have done a service not only for your community, but the values that you bring as well, and everybody who's associated with those values.
Thank you, Nafisa. So I'm going to quickly invite Mukhtar Sheikh, who also running school district, and let us know also, why did you run, and also what have you learned from your campaign, and what advice do you have for the folks who potentially will be planning to run for an office in our community?
Can I hop off?
Yes, you can, Nafisa. Thank you so much, Nafisa.
Bye.
Mukhtar, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kish. And thank you very much for all the work you guys doing out there. It's amazing. I work with Najee a lot in Arizona, Real America. I start with activist. My background is community solution. I studied social development on my master's. So I started back in 2011. The elders told me they need me. They had a lot of cases that needs to be solved. So I started with advocate. I get an issue with a school, housing, criminal justice, and based on these issues, I have to work with the schools to fix those issues, whatever is a long-term suspension, language barriers, culture sensitivity issues. The more I start working these areas, I start realizing that we need a political capital. So I start reaching out, working with our elected officials, both city, state, local, county, and I gain a lot of friends there. And they encouraged me to run back in 2018, and I lost by 69 votes. Today, I'm up 2%. I'm hoping I will maintain that. But literally, my community work is the reason I run, because I realized that there's so much I could do from behind the scene, but we need to be on that table where decisions are made for our kids, for our community, so we could get a full access to information out there and help influence policies.
And what advice do you have, Mukhtar, for the folks who are running for the future?
Get involved, volunteer, whatever problem you see, you are the solution. if we see a problem, tackle it. I think in our communities we know our issues, and if nobody says anything, then you know nobody does anything. I think the reason right now we're winning in Arizona, that Arizona is going to be blue, is because of SB 1070. A lot of young people that I met back then now are the ones who are running, the ones who are organizing. Uh, I thank God these racist people wake up a big giant, because without their racist policies, I don't know if we had this young energy, volunteering and doing all that work. So they did wake up a big giant, and because of Spanish community members and undocumented and immigrants are the reason we are winning Arizona. So if you see a problem, don't ignore it, tackle it. That's how I got involved. I see a problem, I got involved, and I'm so happy that we turned Arizona blue. And
Thank you, Mukhtar.
thank
So
you
I'm
very
gonna
much,
invite
guys. I love you all.
Reina.
Take care. Continue the great work.
Thank you, Mukhtar. So Reina, you have been in Oregon politics for many years, and you are leading one of the most effective, amazing organizations who are working in our farm workers, but also beyond that, you really yourself as just one of the key organizers and leaders in our community. What are you watching tonight? What races, what ballot initiatives that you're trying to pay attention to now? And what can we learn from Oregon 2020 in Oregon?
Well, I mean, I'm watching everything right now. I'm watching the national, I'm watching the state, I'm watching the measures. Obviously the national just feels like a whole nother thing, but on the state level, we are watching some really important statewide races. So it sounds like they already called a few of them, but there was Jeff Merkley who was running. There was a QAnon candidate that was running against him. So I think a lot of people are kind of worried about these candidates coming through the woodwork and running against longtime Democrats. So was watching that, but also was watching the awesome BIPOC candidates that put their name in the ring for state senate or state representatives. We just heard back from Winsbay Campos's race. She's running for representative in the Aloha area, and we just got word that she has won her race. Youngest Latinx representative we've had in the history of Oregon, and just an all-around badass. We also got word back from Ricky Ruiz, another Latinx, awesome son of immigrants, and also won his race out in East Portland. So we're very excited about that. And we've been following a few of the ballot measures as well. There were a few that we had worked on as well. And it looks like all of the ballot measures that were statewide ballot measures actually passed or looking like they're going to pass here in Oregon. So we had one measure that was actually putting a cap on elections contributions, which, as you know, a lot of people have been worried about how much money is going into elections. And I think that this is really going to be a helpful measure that can really restore faith in our system. That's Measure 107. So majority yes, 77% of voters so far have said yes. Measure 108, there's a vape tax that is on the ballot this year in Oregon, also 67% of the vote right now here in Oregon. And I mean, it is Oregon, you know how we do, West Coast, Best Coast. 109, we're legalizing psilocybin in Oregon. So, we already did it with the marijuana. We beat all of y'all across the country. The rest of the country needs to follow suit on legalizing marijuana, but now we have made sure that psilocybin is available to administer to people who have certain mental conditions that can be treated with psilocybin. And of course, Measure 110, which I'm sure all of us are really stoked about. Hey, 59% of the vote so far, that would decriminalize some drugs here in Oregon and provide treatment for people. And for everybody who has had to go to has had to spend any kind of jail time, any kind of prison time for some dumb stuff over just drugs that should not have been even an issue, really putting their lives on a different path that this could have changed their lives years ago, right? So we're really excited about this. It's a big night in Oregon, and obviously we're also just on the edge of our seats on this Biden Trump thing. So just kind of been watching the Electoral College. The Secretary of State's race sounds like it's been called as well. Shemia Fagan will be heading that way as well. And that's really important to us because we will be very involved in the next round of redistricting. We talked about the census, now it's time to talk about redistricting. So, we're doing the thing and we're building power for our communities. FICUN itself, we did about over 20,000 dials to Latinx voters, bilingual, bicultural calls where, we got to talk to everything from our tias on the phone in Spanish to our little brothers and sisters who were turning 18 every 30 seconds. Apparently a Latinx person is turning 18. So it's been a lot of work, and no matter what happens tonight, it's historical, and there has been historic turnout in Oregon and across the country. I think there's no denying it.
Now, thank you, Reina. And I want to quickly also invite Anahita from California. And Anahita, can you give us a little bit about, your own perspective as organizer? What's going on in California? What are you paying attention, and what's your perspective in terms of the races to watch out, or if there's any ballot initiatives that you're tracking in California?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Casey, for having me. And I just first off want to say it's so great to see such diverse folks on here. It definitely makes it worthwhile, especially with immigrant, refugee background folks that are running for office. It's definitely a motivator for us in the future to also look forward to potentially running as well. So I do want to thank you for that. It's definitely motivating. Here in California, wow, there's a lot going on. So we actually took on this pilot program to start civic engagement efforts with the We're All America campaign. I'm based out of Los Angeles, so this was in partnership with CHIRLA, the Council on American Islamic Relations, and International Rescue Committee Los Angeles. We did a social media and resettlement outreach program to get out the vote to former refugees and immigrants from Iranian backgrounds. The reason we chose Iranians in particular, aside from the fact that I come from an Iranian background, is that majority of Iranians who fled the 1979 revolution actually resettled here in California. So we have over 111,000 foreign-born Iranians just here in California, and over 60,000 of them reside in Los Angeles. And just 26,000 of those are new American voters who were registered to vote between 2014 and 2018. So that was one of our niches in making sure that we can reach out to this particular community. So we started doing phone banking twice a week. We had volunteers get out the vote to Iranians, and also making sure that we can get a yes support on Prop 15. So Prop 15 is schools and communities first. It would tax wealthy corporations that are worth over $3 million to pay their fair share of taxes because they've been paying the same taxes since the 1970s. And so this would give back $12 billion annually to schools, communities, nurses, community colleges, fighting wildfires, pandemics, and so forth. And we were really happy to say that we got a 67% ID, so support rate from the Iranians that we did reach out to, which was more than we had anticipated because a lot of Iranians here are in businesses, and we didn't think that they would be supportive of such a measure. So we were able to get 67% of them out of 400 folks that we called out in Los Angeles to support this measure. And so this is a pilot program that we hope to continue and expanding after we identify the voter propensity levels, moving into local elections in the future, midterms, and future presidential elections. So it's one thing that I will say is a challenge, particularly within the Iranian community in California, is that you know, there's a lot of division, right? So this is the 501c conversation. I definitely want to keep it that way, but there's a lot of division within the community and what they stand for. So there was definitely pushback and challenges, but I do believe that, you know, with the efforts in getting out the vote and just having these uncomfortable conversations with our family members, friends, colleagues, and our neighbors, that we can definitely make that shift and make sure that we can unite us right at the end. You know, I think that's what matters most, regardless of, I want to say the election outcome, is that we have to be united because we have to live with one another after this, right? And so I think that's something that I'm keeping to heart, is making sure that we can be united and making sure that our hard work doesn't go in vain, right? I'm sure all of us have been working so hard on this. For some of us for years, right? And some of us for months, just making sure that we can get out the vote and, you know, hoping that we get the best result. So let me stop there.
Thank you, Anahita. And I want to quickly just also invite Naira, just knowing that, you know, California potentially might be, not California, Arizona might go blue tonight for a long time in the history of the state. And I know you have done some amazing work around organizing Get Out of the Vote for the first, you know, generations of immigrant refugees who are becoming citizens. Tell us a little bit about what's your perspective, what happened in Arizona tonight, and also anything that you want to share with us in terms of what's going on the ground and any places that you want to highlight.
Yeah, so it's really exciting. I mean, Arizona is one of the key swing states in this election and in 2020. And so currently with the presidential election, we see that Joe Biden is leading in the state of Arizona 54 to 45%, along with another key election, which is the Senate race. Democrat Mark Kelly is leading against Martha McSally. Also, we're seeing a lot of exciting things happening within the congressional seats where Democrats may have a chance of winning another congressional district, which includes Dr. Hiral, whose family comes from an immigrant background. She's from India. And that would make 6 out of the 9 congressional districts out of Arizona Democratic. And also in the city council, we have Yasamin Ansari, who is a daughter of Iranian immigrants, is leading the council race in her district, District 7. So really, really exciting things that are happening in the state legislature. It looks like right now, both in the House and the Senate, Democrats are leading, which has, you know, not been the case in the past. And then as far as a lot of the mobilization work we've been doing here, we launched for this election the Arizona Refugee Voter Mobilization Campaign with many different partners in this effort, and where we really wanted to mobilize the naturalized refugee vote and getting them registered through doing phone banking, through voter education, and just uplifting their voices of refugees and immigrants, because their voices matter. And so a lot of exciting things happening in Arizona, and we're looking forward to the outcome of this election. Back to you, Casey.
Thank you. And Ingrid, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know that you have organized for many years in Nevada and then Oregon, and also help United Oregon Action kind of get this first initial getting supporting for the candidates. And so what have you learned through this process, and what's your takeaway from 2020? And so that's the question for you. Feel free to respond any way you want if you like to.
Well, hi, and nice to meet you all. As Casey said, I work at Unite Oregon. Behind Casey, I'm the second longest staff person that's been on staff, which is really great. So this year I had the opportunity to help our C4 Oregon Action board kind of through the endorsement process in Portland and across the state, which is really interesting. And everyone was fairly new to the process. And I think what I learned was that they were very passionate about the candidates they wanted to endorse, and really excited about the opportunity to have Unite Oregon step into this new role as an organization that can endorse candidates, but also put a little bit of money behind candidates running for office. So I think that that was really exciting for us. I think, you know, our ability to be able to kind of work with candidates and talk a little bit about our own platforms around health, childcare in particular. I think one of the things that was really exciting is kind of connecting with Nafisa and Winsbay and Nadia Hassan, who are running in Washington County, and just connecting with those candidates and having them incorporate childcare as part of their platforms, and understanding both, you know, as working moms, the impact of childcare on being able to, you know, go to work and being able to have access, and how some families don't have the support or the resources. So I think that that was really, really exciting for me, just to kind of be able to shepherd that process for the board. You know, it's, you know, this is actually, you know, I kind of shy away a little bit from politics in and of itself, just because I think sometimes it's a little overwhelming. But I think this year I've been particularly excited because of the community and the amount of women of color I've seen running for office. I think that that's been really inspiring in Oregon. And we recently just moved to Washington County, so we're now in Beaverton. So we moved out of Portland, which I think is great, and just seeing a new community of people and just kind of getting connected and figuring out how we can help make our community a better place for a lot of the families that need to be served. So I think that for me, like, I think I've been really excited about the work. I think we have a lot of work to do. And with this election, I think most of us are kind of checking our phones, and that's a little stressful right now, I think, for me, just looking at the election numbers and just praying to God that it like goes our way, because I'm like, we can't do 4 more years of this. So that's where I am. So thanks for
Thank you, Inger. And I think also I want to recognize that we all know that the reality is that the West Coast has humongous implications what's happening national level. So we are actually, you know, as they say, you know, wind blows from the west. So I think, you know, any change meaningful change that will be coming from in our community has to be coming from the west. So I think what happens tonight, regardless of the national politics in national level, West Coast has a humongous indications where we're going as a nation, and where we're going as a community, and where we're going as a country. So with that said, I want to ask you a question, and any one of you can respond to. What's giving you hope tonight?
For me, like, seeing the voter turnout, like, it's just amazing and exceptional to see so many people just excited and turning out the vote.
Yeah, I would have to echo what Neera said. Just like the early voters getting out to vote is phenomenal. Being a first-time voter along with my family is definitely encouraging as well. Really exciting time. It's the first time that our voices are being able to be heard in the US election. So it's definitely a monumental time, and we can, you know, anxiously sit behind our computers or the TV waiting for those results.
Yeah, I would just add just the opportunity to be in this time. I think a lot of us want to be on the right side of history, and we're hoping that, you know, things go our way in our communities. And I think that there's a lot of potential. And I think if nothing else, this election has inspired people, you know, to really cast their vote and speak on behalf of their communities and run for office and really step into positions, as kind of like Khan said and Nafisa said. They were inspired because they didn't see themselves being represented of their communities, and so they stepped into that space. So I think we need more of that moving forward, and we need to put money behind candidates and to help fundraise and to be thinking about our 5, 10, 15-year strategy, because we do want our communities and those elected to look like us and to represent our interests. So that's what gives me hope, is this just that we have a lot of potential and we're sowing those seeds right now. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for us.
Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate this conversation. And for me, I think, as folks said, you know, no matter what happens to the national level tonight, what gives me hope for me is seeing those folks who are from our community, particularly those who are the first generation immigrant and refugees, who are really stepping up to the plate and not only being an organizers on the ground, but also deciding to run for an office and inspiring the wave of next generations who will be following after that. I am very hopeful. Potentially, you know, all politics are local. So no matter what happens at the national level tonight, I am really excited to engage those folks who are going to be elected tonight, but also working, hopefully, to start working to building the movement that will pave the way for future change that needs to happen in our country and in our community. And I think also power building has to be the center of this. Without a movement, we will not be able to build the type of the change that we need to happen in our community. So organizers on the ground need to consider running for an office. Community members need to consider supporting those organizers. And I think organizations need to also support people who are running in our community who are running for an office, building the infrastructure, but also making sure once they elected, we hold them accountable. That's really for me what the rubber hits the road. I know we have a long night ahead of us, so I want to thank you, all of you, for joining with us, and those who are watching for us tonight. Good luck, stay strong. We're going to make through this no matter what happens. We've been here before, and we're going to go through this process of national level. But again, get involved in your local politics and being running for an office or supporting someone for running for an office. That's how we build movement. Movement is about organizing, it's about electoral organizing, it's about power building. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you.